Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones, and man, I am so happy to be here today. I'm happy that you guys are here, and I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today, a good friend of mine. Mr. William Nighthawk is here in the studio today. I have not had William on the show in a while. I'm so excited that he is here. And you guys, like I said, you guys are in for a treat today. We're going to be talking about the indigenous ties to Dogman, Bigfoot, all the different cryptids, and we'll talk about a lot more other stuff. Okay, we're not gonna limit our conversation today. William has so much knowledge, y'all, and so we're going to dive right into this show today. You guys, what's up, John? I see you in here. Hey, you guys, go get the popcorn. Go pour you some hot tea on this cold day. Gosh, I know here in Georgia, we had some snow yesterday. I didn't see a whole snowflake yesterday, but thank goodness the people just south of us and just north of us did. They're snowed in still, but not me. And shout out to all my Florida folks. You guys got snow on the beach. What the heck? What is going on? And at Myrtle Beach too. I've got family and friends out there. They got snowed in as well. So shout out to everybody who is trying to stay warm today. And thank you again for being here. If you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows, please go to my website. It's thecryptidhuntress.com. Y'all can find all of my events there. I've got a lot of events coming up. I even have one or two that are not on my calendar yet, but they're also on the ticker down here if you guys are interested. The next event that I'm going to be at will be the UFO conference up in North Georgia next weekend up in Blue Ridge, February the 1st. So you guys, please come see me at that. There's going to be some great speakers, and it's for a good cause. It's the Fannin County Family Connections. It's a fundraiser for them, and there will be raffles and all sorts of stuff going on there. So yeah, y'all come see me at that. That's the next event that I will be at. Also, I do have a Patreon, and I have a shop. It's called War Woman Goods. If you guys would like to support my work, please go check it out. And thank you to all of my members and everybody who shows their support. I appreciate it so much. Okay, well, let's get to our show today. Okay, I'm not wasting any time because we got William here. And William Nighthawk is an ordained minister for Native American, Indian, and Metis people. He is a military veteran and a 32-degree Scottish Rite Free Mason with over 35 years of paranormal encounters and investigation experience. William grew up with a dark black magic witch for a parent in a haunted house with highly active paranormal property. He is a survivor of 2 near-death experiences, which made his connection to the paranormal even stronger. From ghosts to UFOs and cryptid creatures to aliens, he's been through it all. And you can catch William on his YouTube channel, Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast. You guys, please go check it out. Please subscribe. And he has live shows throughout the week and on the weekend with Weekend Morning Brew. And our good friend, author E.D. Testerman, is his co-host for that. And it is fantastic. If you want a good thing to wake up to on a Saturday and Sunday morning, please go check him out. Please help me welcome to the show my good friend, Mr. William Nighthawk. Hey, William.
How we doing?
Hey, I am excellent. I am so blessed to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, like I said earlier, backstage is as long as the signal holds out, because I don't have any internet and I'm on this cell phone today, and you know how reliable those things are.
I do. Well, we're gonna put the energy into it. That it's gonna be just fine today. Okay, everything's gonna stay on air. But it's okay if something happens, it'll be okay. And I'll bring you back another time. Okay, so don't you worry. Sounds good. Well, tell me how you've been and what you've been up to, and how things are going. It's even over at Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast.
Well, we on the podcast channel, I brought back Midnight's Monsters, which is a series that I used to put out around midnight every Wednesday night. But we're bringing it back for at least 1 or 2 nights a week on a Wednesday night at midnight. And my special co-host on that's going to be Ryan Paul Tremblay, who everybody I'm sure knows. He's a spectacular young man. He's like a little brother to me. I protect him too, as a matter of fact, with my prayers and stuff and my medicine. So, but yeah, I mean, we've got a lot going on. I'm currently working with three separate individuals to keep them safe from harm, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's trying, especially when you're in the condition I'm in right now. But I've been doing okay. I've been fighting, to keep on going, and I will keep on going. And I'm sorry, I can't. The screen is so small, I can't even see the comments. So if I don't see anybody's comments, please forgive me. I love you all very much, and think the world of everybody in the chat and you, Jessica. Um, but it's just the way it is right now. Unfortunately, the powers that be always hate it when I come on a podcast or go live, and they always try to interfere. So.
Well, it happened. It happens here too, and so we push through it no matter what. And anything, I will read the comments for you. Okay, whenever there's a question or something, I will be sure to read that for you. And I mean, I have a hard time seeing it myself, and I've got my face right up into it. So my eyes, I need to get my eyes checked, William. I say that just about every show, and I'm going to one
Yeah.
day. But yeah, well, it is completely fine. I'm just glad you're here. Super glad you're here, and I think it's important that we have a conversation today. You have so much knowledge, and I bring you up all the time. Some of the things that you've taught me, I discuss things that I learn on your podcast. I discuss, and it's just so wonderful to have you here to speak about it in person today. And I wanted to thank you for consulting with me. You know, I've gone out in the field a lot, and I've done things like that are pretty dangerous, and I've dealt with things that I wasn't prepared to deal with, and I didn't know how to go about it, and I contacted you, and you helped me, and I wanted to thank you
As
for
a,
that.
yeah, and I appreciate that, thanking me for that, but you don't have to. I do it because that's just what I do. I don't know any other way of being, and if I did, it'd probably revert me back to the dark place I came from, and I don't want that to happen. So yeah, I try my darndest to help out people, to give people advice, to bless them when they're doing certain dangerous investigations and research. Everything from protecting people from cryptids and shadow figures and the Wendigo, the walkers, and just literally everything I've dealt with spiritually, and amazingly, I keep on going. So, but yeah, that's what I do. I'm just here to help.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and you are my go-to person for any kind of issues that may arise when it comes to things I'm not prepared to deal with, that I haven't dealt with in the field yet. And I wanted to ask you if you wouldn't mind telling the audience a little bit about you growing up and in your family. I know I had mentioned in the introduction that your mother practiced black magic, and I talk about that a lot too, as far as like cryptids being related to black magic rituals and stuff, werewolves and
Right.
things, shapeshifters. Could you tell me a little bit about how you grew up?
Well, in order for me to do that, I've got to go a little bit further than what I've ever gone before, because I was born the seventh child from parents that were both of Native American descent. My father was Lakota, and my mother was Shawnee and Cherokee. And you know, I was born the seventh child, which in itself is significant. Um, and I was born on the 17th of the spring, which is, if we go by the old calendar, a 13-month calendar, 28 days. I would have been born on one of the sacred days of the year, the most sacred times of the year, which is when the Messiah was born, Jesus Christ. So I have that connection, but also when I was 3 years old, I was down at a farmer's corner on his lot there where he had chestnut trees, and my sister, who is a couple years older than me and myself, went down there and we were picking chestnuts and stuff. And the next thing I know, I felt a boot up the side of my head, and I was laying on the ground looking up, and there was teenagers that were kicking me and punching me when I was 3 years old, and I don't remember anything really after that as far as physically being there. After a few moments, I remember being in a dark place and hearing my grandmother tell me, you know, it's okay, Billy, it's okay. You don't need to be here right now. So I'm going to send you back. And apparently, the next thing I remember as a child was my mother holding me and holding something against my bloody nose um, that where they had kicked me at, and my friend's father came running out of the house. The farmer came running out of the house and chased the kids away. But that was my first near-death experience. And from there, my whole life escalated. Um, my mother, who used to predominantly practice her magic with a K in the nighttime, usually when us kids were sleeping. Um, but often after that, she practiced it during the daytime, and she started teaching me how to do things, how to spell cast, how to do certain ceremonies like the Walker ceremony, and just how to hex people, and made dough dolls with people's hair in them to make almost like a dough voodoo doll. Just all kinds of really bizarre stuff that a child shouldn't be knowledgeable
Right.
of. But yeah, that's how it all started. And from there, like I said, it just escalated because I always knew that there was something odd about the property that we lived on and the house we lived in, because there was always something weird happening. And I always connected that with my mother.
Mm.
And she was the type of mother that kept me isolated, especially after that incident at 3 years old. And just so many things I was not supposed to, I don't think, learn. Um, all the way up until I was in probably ninth or 10th grade. I did this magic, and I wasn't nice when it came to it. The one thing that she taught me was to, when I do spell castings or I do prayers to, you know, the shadow realm, to basically the demonic realm, I should say, because that's really what a lot of the spell casting is. It's a possession type of a thing where they take over our bodies. Um, but I did it to get back at society as a whole, because I was raised as one to be rebellious against the system, one to rebel against the government, and the great white father, that whole scenario. I not at the same time I did that growing up. I was also involved with the American Indian movement, which was a big thing back in the 70s and the late 60s, where we took over the Bureau of Indian Affairs building in Washington, D.C. We had the thing at Wounded Knee in the 70s. To this day, I just come to find out that Leonard Peltier, his sentence was um, not pardoned, but it was where he's no longer has to be in Leavenworth, where he's been his whole life practically from a young man on. And Leonard was our medicine person. He was our the one we always went to for advice and all that. And I learned a lot, watching him and interacting with several other medicine people and my own mother, to tell you the truth. So I learned a lot of different things, about the same time. But I did most of my stuff to protect sacred sites, whether it was burial grounds, burial mounds, humblacious sites where we would do vision quests, Sundance sites. I would call forth the elements, the spirits of the land, and I would cast spells to scare off people or to keep people away, because in those days we weren't allowed to do our ceremonies in public at all. We weren't allowed to even pray in public. We weren't allowed to do sweat lodge ceremonies where we sweated our sins away, and for the longest time, I think it was 1978 or 79 that we were finally allowed to do our traditional ways. And I resented that a lot growing up. So that's why I was the way I was. To be a second-class citizen in the lands where your people and your ancestors lived for thousands of years, and being treated like that was why I was so bitter and so angry. So I embraced the dark medicine at the time.
Wow.
Sorry.
Well, at 3 years old, having a near-death experience that young, and communicating with the other side, and then being brought back. I mean, that was quite early in your life, and it's very tragic that happened, but it's also amazing that you survived that.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing, and to it's good that you've kind of set the tone for why you did why you study the things you did, or how your mother taught you some things. It had to be a pretty interesting childhood, yet kind of scary at times, I would think, because you had like paranormal activity, and you attributed that to maybe your mother doing some magic. What was that like?
Well, it wasn't uncommon that at night you would see things in the sky. You would hear things. Lights suspended from the ceiling would be shaking back and forth. They'd be flickering off and on, and you'd hear knocks and bangs, and things moving that obviously you wouldn't see it move, but you would hear it. Like a wooden chest being drug across the floor, or I would see and interact with shadow people all the time. I think there wasn't a day go by that I didn't see at least a shadow person. I interacted with cryptids. I interacted with Bigfoot, especially. Which I had one incident when I was 12 going on 13, where I was riding a dirt bike, a motorcycle, and with a buddy of mine, and we were in this tar pit, kind of a gravel pit type of an area where contractors came in and got their gravel and all that, and topsoil, and we were riding around, and the way the trail was, it went through the gravel pits up over a large hill and down into the wood line, and the wood line was probably, I don't know, maybe 300 yards from an actual stream, a big, like a river. And, we always had activity in that area. And this was about a mile from my house. So we always had activity in that area. And until recently, I kind of, realized that it's just the way it is with that area of the land that I was on. But I came around the corner in the woods, and this branch came flying out and went through the front spokes of my motorcycle wheel, and it flipped me over. I wasn't going that fast, but it flipped me over enough to where the motorcycle laid down on me. And as I was getting my calf muscle burned on my left leg, I was pushing the motorcycle up from the seat off of me, and I looked up at the tree probably about 20 feet away from me. And there behind this big oak tree this figure stepped out, and it had this. Well, I guess the only way to describe it is I'll have to show you. A good friend of mine, a brother of mine here locally, made this for me, and this is what was standing there looking at me.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
It was well over, and this is an exact description from what I saw, muscles and everything, the thickness of the thighs and just everything, even the back, everything was just as it was, and how it turned its head, to look at me. It's just amazing the detail that he got from my description. But anyways, make a long story short, I went to push the motorcycle off, and it was staring at me, and it had this grin on its face. And I guess it didn't realize I was a kid, But at the same time, I looked at him. I saw movement off to my right, and there was another one about 50 yards away from me that had like a deer was frozen, a doe was frozen right in front of it, like out of fear. When they fear something, they don't move, and eventually they'll sniff the air, and that white tail will go up in the air as a warning sign to other deer, and then they'll run away. But this one didn't. This one laid there on the ground trying to purposely hide, and this other Bigfoot was standing over top of it practically. So what I visualized and thought of in my head was I just interrupted their hunt. They must have been hunting, and so that's why they didn't want me in that area. So I got on my motorcycle, and I took off. And as I got on the motorcycle and took off, I looked behind me, and the big one was walking over to the littler one where the deer was. So they must have got the deer. But yeah, it was quite the and that was the second actual physical encounter I had with Big Brother. And my father used to sit with me at the table, and he used to tell me some stories about Big Brother, that how he watches over the woods and the animals in the woods, and us as far as indigenous people that are connected to the land. He is more like a spirit than a flesh and blood creature most of the time, but he can become flesh and blood. And a lot of people, there's that whole thing online and stuff on social media where people are arguing about the stupid stuff like, is it a woo factor or is it flesh and blood? It can't be both. Well, I'm here to tell you that yes, when it comes to the Native American aspect of it, that yes, they can be flesh and blood, and yes, they can be supernatural. There is no separation, and we all have that ability. That's one thing that I've learned through my life, through my walk in life, from being so involved into the supernatural and the paranormal, that we all have that innate ability within us to make things happen. But humanity has lost that. And there's some of us that still to this day try to embrace it. But yeah, that's pretty much my first and not the last run-in I had with Big Brother.
Well, William, I often say that humans are both supernatural in flesh and bone too, and flesh and blood. Whenever that argument comes up, because in the Bigfoot community, there's historically been those two camps of a big monkey running around the woods like a primate, this flesh and bone, and then there's the supernatural woo camp. Well, why can't they be both? Because they are both, just
exactly.
like humans.
When we do ceremony, whether it's the good ceremonies or the bad ceremonies, sometimes we do ceremony, we sing chants, we sing songs, we pray out loud, but then other times we hold that within us, and we don't say a word, and we just visualize it in our mind, and we taste it in our mouth, we smell it through our nose, and we hear it through our ears, and feel it across our face, like the wind. And that's how we manifest things. That's how we draw forth power from the environment and from the ancestors. They gift us the power to interact with supernatural entities to either protect our people and the land and the animals, or to harm people and the land and the animals. So it just depends on, I guess, on how your feelings are towards certain things. Everybody says that. Here's a perfect example too, Jessica. Everybody says that JFK was a great president, and he was. He was a very good president. But at the same time that he was helping out other groups of people. I won't go into detail about it because I don't want you to get censored. But at the same time he was helping out other groups of people, he actually signed a bill that flooded the Seneca's original tribal land for chief corn planter in Pennsylvania in the Allegheny Mountains. And the water covered the actual village and all the graves and stuff. And they didn't give the native people enough to remove a lot of the stuff that they held sacred.
Wow. Well, that's just what I was planning on asking you today, was about all the sightings of like cryptids around the sacred grounds, okay, and sacred lands. I've been getting a lot of reports of dogmen, let's just say werewolves or dogmen, around burial mounds, or what we've been told are burial mounds, all over, especially here in Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, cemeteries, a lot of cemeteries, old cemeteries too, a lot. And okay.
Whether the body actually, when we leave this body, okay, and say we bury this body in the ground, our spirit and our soul are separate. Okay, our soul. Whenever somebody says that they sold their soul to the devil, they didn't sell their soul to the devil. I'm sorry, but that's just my belief. Okay, you don't have to believe it if you don't want to. But the way I was taught was our spirit is separate from our soul. Our soul goes on to the Creator and with the ancestors, but our spirit stays here because it's familiarized itself with certain areas that impacted our lives in this body a certain way, which comes back as paranormal residual energy, like a recorder being played over and over again. Whether it was a tragic connection to the land or a place or people, or whether it was a happy thing, that made us, joyful in spirit, negative or positive, our spirit always stays here and interacts with the environment that we were in this body, and our soul goes on to the Creator. And one thing that I've always told people from the beginning was that when you're dealing with cryptids and you're dealing with Native Americans, you could almost guarantee that 75% of the time those cryptids are in that area because a Native American wanted those areas protected. And that's how spirit comes forth to us, to protect certain areas, whether it's a burial ground or a burial mound or a sacred site. But at the same time, sorry, I'm trying to catch my breath. At the same time, we have to understand that this body, even though it's in the ground, is going to give off an energy, a frequency. Okay. And these cryptids, even the flesh and blood cryptids, are attracted to that energy. And that's why you see them in cemeteries and graveyards and around sacred sites so much, because once they make that connection, they don't want to leave there because they can draw off of that frequency power from the bodies being in the ground and spirit. So they interact with spirit all the time.
Oh my gosh. That's fantastic that you just told us that, William, because it answers a lot of questions. And I've had Colleen Norris has been on our show before, and she's a paranormal Bigfoot / Dogman investigator from Ohio. And she brought us this really interesting video. I'm sure you've seen it, of the grave digging Dogman at the cemetery that her daughter's 2 friends filmed when they were on their dinner break. And
Right.
you said it was perplexing because whatever it was, they thought it was a woman, they said a dirty lady digging in a hole, but there was no body there where it was digging. And it's where cremains went. And so she never really could figure out why it was digging there. And I know Eric, our good friend Edie Testerman, has been on the show, and he and I talked back and forth about it. Maybe it was digging up a portal key or something. That was his idea. And we're just trying to brainstorm what would it have been digging for. Do you have any idea? What are your thoughts?
Well, the one thing that that every whether you call it good magic or dark magic has in common is bones. And these, first off, in order to understand if it was a Dogman or if it was an elemental taking werewolf form or Dogman form, whatever you want to call it, sometimes when someone is buried in the ground, you have a connection. You can feel a connection, whether it's blood related to the area that they're digging up, the person's grave that they're digging up, or if there's nothing there, it could be the fact that they know that something is going to be buried there, and they come back every now and then to check to make sure, to see if if it was actually buried there, which could have been a relative or could have been a sacred object. Excuse me. So it could be a number of different things, Jessica. But the one connection I have made is that they have an attraction to the frequency and the vibration coming off of the bodies and off of the land, because you got to understand, in order to have a cemetery or graveyard, you're going to have a blessing ceremony, no matter what religion it is. You're going to have prayers said over that ground, and that ground, when that first body goes in the ground, it's automatically sacred ground, and they are attracted to sacred ground. That's that's the first and foremost connection we can make. So they take the accounts of being seen in the LBL. Think about the LBL, for example. There's over 200 graveyards or grave sites in cemeteries in the LBL area. Where do you think all that vibration and that energy goes to? That frequency. It's going to come up out of the land, and it's going to attract these cryptids that can feel that vibration or that energy. That's just the way they are. It would be the same way if we didn't go with technology and have technology ruin our lives.
Yeah, everything is energy, frequency, and vibrational, and that's why. I mean, they're using it against us at this point. I know, not to get conspiratorial here, but it's the truth that frequency weapons are being used against us and the animals and the cryptids. Everything that's out there, all life, is being affected by it right now. And so that is actually my hypothesis as to why the wildlife is so much more violent against humans up in Alaska. I think that there's some kind of weather, maybe HARP is up there. There's some kind of frequency, weather manipulation or something that's going on up there that's causing a lot of those animals and that wildlife to be more violent.
Right, exactly. And the one thing that I know from being in the military is we have a lot more installations than just HARP right now. They actually can use the radar towers and stuff that you see around airports to influence the weather. And we all seen the videos of the FEMA planes and that have the canisters on them, where they can put the chemtrails in the sky to manipulate weather too, make it rain, make it storm, make it snow. So yeah, they have technology that far exceeds what they're letting us slowly leak out. But some of it I'm still not feeling very good to talk about, if you know what I mean. But you know, it's a big show. It's all it is. It's a big show. It's a way to keep humanity manipulated, to keep us subdued and under their thumb. And you know, it's not just this country; it's every country in the world. You know, it says in the Bible that not only do we have to fear, you know, fight the principalities and all that, but we also need to come up against the evil governors. Now, evil governors, you can relate that to governments, you know. So even the Bible, you know, is showing us that there is certain areas of the Bible that tells us we need to be aware of people in prominent positions because they're evil, plain and simple, you know. When you have influences like CERN and you have influences like Bohemian Grove and you have influences like BlackRock, Vanguard, Berkshire Hathaway. Um, you know, I hate to say it, Elon Musk, if you're listening, but you know, X, Twitter, Facebook. You know, it's all used to manipulate us to keep us off the scent of what's actually going on. That's all it is.
That's right. We've actually, I talked about Elon Musk. I did a remote viewing target for my friend Arkeem, and it turned out to be something in Venus. You know, he's doing they're trying to colonize Venus. Okay. And it's something
Right.
he and NASA are actually working on that. They've been working on that for years. So we just recently talked about that. And so, yeah, we got to watch out. There's just, there's a lot of strange things going on in our world right now. And that's why I'm always telling my audience to watch their six, keep their head on a swivel. And yeah, because that's just the state of the world right now. And I wanted to take just a quick break to let you know there's several people who have said to tell you hello and God bless you, William, from Dario in Italy, and Corey Cole's in here. There's a bunch of people. So I'll save them for you. Maybe you can watch this later today. And you can see the comments on the screen. Yeah, there's been several people.
As soon as we get our internet back, I'll watch it later. But
okay,
Corey, thank you very much for being here, guys.
Oh yeah, there's more than just Corey. It's a bunch of people at William. So I'm sorry, I can't get to all of them, but there's a bunch of people. And we did have some questions too regarding Dogman versus Bigfoot. Okay, my audience we love talking about cryptids, you know, of course. And I think it was Prophet Prey maybe was asking. He said, "What is the difference between a werewolf and a Dogman?" I was wondering, could you go over that with my audience, because there's been a little debate lately as to what the difference is.
I can tell you from what I was told when I was growing up, being, you know, indigenous, is that the real Dogmen that you see, they were a tribe of people from up above the Yukon area in Canada, from the Nahanni Valley is where they lived. And they thrived there. And the indigenous people in Canada used to trade with them and all that. Well, they have since made their way to travel, you know, all over North America and even South America. The Dogmen people, they are that way 100% of the time. They don't change back. They are literally half man or woman and half dog or wolf. Okay. In nature, they are flesh and blood. Werewolves, the Rougarou, you're talking a curse or a magic that is brought upon someone that is being transformed into something evil, something that does more harm than good in the world, in the environment, in the world and community today. So they're being cursed or hexed for a reason, whether they offended somebody, like a powerful witch or a warlock or whatnot, whether they they did something that didn't agree with a family unit as a whole or the matriarch of the family. Curses and hexes are done all the time. And, the werewolf one, and including the Rougarou out of Nolans, it's basically a possession, and it's brought back through, and I believe it's the Rougarou. I'm not that versed on the Rougarou, but when it comes to Dogman and werewolves, I think I've dealt with both of them through my time. I've been told I'm a werewolf too, by the way, so that's a whole nother story. So,
hey, it's okay, William. I was told that we have werewolves that watch my show.
Yeah.
So it's not that uncommon here.
Well, you probably have quite a few different types of things, beings, and entities that watch your show too, because Kenny the other day, and Kenny, if you're out there listening, I love you, brother. We will be getting together. But yeah, that was a good show the other day. I enjoyed that thoroughly.
Thank you.
You'd be surprised how many types of, how do I want to say this? I don't want to offend anybody, but I want to be politically correct. Okay, so you have so many different types of beings. Okay, I'm just going to say beings. I don't want to say individuals and stuff like descriptions and stuff. But watching your program, I mean, you probably have several different alien species watching your program. There's the one thing we've got to consider when we try to rationalize all the differences between people is, I think you need to start at the very beginning. And even before the Anunnaki, and I do a lot of research, involving the Anunnaki and the giants, as you well know, and the connection goes way beyond just different species. Okay, there's different texts out there. You have the Veda texts. You have the Emerald Tablet of Thoth. You have the cuneiform from the Anunnaki. You have Egyptian writings. It all, if you encompass it all, and you don't have blinders on to think of just one way of things being, and you take it all in as a whole, and you're open-minded, you'll see that there are connections that connect the dots to everything that we do, and every species that we interact with. I've been told there's cat people out there. Okay. I have never had a run-in with one myself, but they are said to be just like dogmen, basically. Half cat, half human. But I've had truck drivers around the world tell me that they've seen them, that they, late at night when they're driving, they jump out in front of their rigs and the headlights, shine on them, and they see this 6 foot, 7 foot tall human cat hybrid standing in front of their rig as they're driving, and and then darting off into the darkness. So I mean, they've got to exist. That's just I mean, if these other things exist, why should we limit what has the capability of watching your program or interacting with your chat? That limits us, and we don't need to have any more limits put on humanity. We need to actually expand the humanity knowledge. So
we do. Well, I have to admit, I have come across a cat person before, and it's not how you think. It's not how you think. It wasn't in person in the 3D. I was given a blind coordinate remote viewing target by Barry Littleton, and it was a secret containment, anomalous species containment facility, like a place where they would keep cryptids or ETs and things like that. One that it was rumored to be real, a location. and it was a blind target. When I got into it, I immediately made contact with a cat being. And it blew his mind, because when I gave him the data, he was like, "Oh my God." He was like, "So this place is real?" And but I had a conversation with this cat being telepathically, and so I'm sure that gets the attention of other beings in the realm, okay, that we're in, or just the realms around us. When I'm tuning into these remote viewing targets and I'm making contact with them, I get on their radar.
Okay.
So that's
well. I've never had a run-in with them. I've never, and I would love to actually interact with the cat beings. The one of the visions I had when I was growing up was that I was attacked by 3 mountain lions, and I often attribute that to a feline connection to the supernatural and the paranormal. So I would love to have an interaction with a cat person. Whether they're alien or not, or whether they're just another cryptid, whether they're, I mean, there's so much talk out there too. There's so much controversy about the globe and the flat earth thing. That's a whole nother podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I'm one to believe that, in the as above, so below type of a thing. And you can't really have the as above, so below type of a theory if it's a globe. I mean, if you think about it, it would have been phrased as above, so within. So, and there is a part of the Bible that says, I think it's the book of Thomas that says that's not in the actual King James version. The book of Thomas is like one of the best books. That and the book of Enoch and Giants is also another good one. It says, as above, so below, as within, so without. And that is an interpretation of, a lot of people, they think that means that the Christ is within us, that, yes, we all are, we're all divine. We all have that divine energy within us. But if we learn to not keep it within us and use it without, and use it within the world that we interact with in a good way, that only makes us stronger for the transition to the next world. And a lot of people, they just, they don't connect to that. And, that's one thing that I connect to. There's so many things that need to be discussed about the supernatural or the paranormal, whatever you want to call it, that happens around us every second of the day that we don't see and we don't hear and we don't feel. Even the best of us that have psychic abilities, that have abilities to dream walk, to skywalk, to transition to from one parallel universe to another, or dimension to another. We still don't have 100% of those abilities to see everything. That's why sometimes you will have psychics or psychic people describe things differently, because one psychic may see something different from another psychic. You know what I mean? And it's like, there was a talk about those jellyfish in the sky and stuff. Well, if you go back 2 years ago on my podcast, and watch a podcast that I talked about in the shadow realm, there are these jellyfishes that are in the sky, that they are jet black like shadow people, that what they do is their tentacles zap the energy from our bodies. So whenever you feel drained, there's probably that entity.
Oh, I think William, I hope that he didn't lose his battery power, you guys. Okay, well, hopefully William will be back in just a minute, but if he's not, there he is.
Are we there?
There you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you, my battery is dying, but I don't know if you heard that last part, but
the last thing I heard was about the jellyfish entities are draining the energy out of people.
Right. And that's the one thing that I saw first and foremost in the shadow realm. You guys call it the veil. I call it the shadow realm because that's basically, if you think of it like a purgatory, that's the best way to describe it, because that's where a lot of the evil spirit that's in the world goes to. They don't stay on this plane on Earth; they stay on that plane because it's the shadow realm for a reason. It's where negativity goes, and negativity comes from. So, but yeah, the jellyfish have always been here too. They have become more adept to leaving the shadow realm and coming into this realm from the veil, because the veil is so thin or torn, you know. So.
Oh yeah, the veil has pretty much disappeared. It feels like at this point. Before we go further, Caleb J, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for being a member of the Hunt Club too. I appreciate that, and thank you for that support. And also Wendy Luhu, thank you. She says my snow day allowed me to finally catch you live. Thank you for being here. That is so sweet. And thank you for that super sticker. And also Dragonfly too. Thank you so much, Dragonfly, for that super sticker. It is much appreciated. And I wanted to ask you, William, before your phone dies, if it does, hopefully it won't. When we were doing our show on Monday, you were in the chat with when I had Kenny on, and we were talking about werewolves and the she wolves of Jülich in Germany. You had mentioned that you had met the three sisters. I remember that in there. Can you tell me about that? Who were the three sisters, and what were you referring to?
One of the most terrifying times that I had as a child, I was about 10 years old, and my mother had invited these people over to our property because she was doing a bonfire and or sacred fire, I should say, but it was a big fire. And there were several women there, young and old, and you know, most people call it a covenant, but it's not really a covenant. It's more of just a group of people that can manipulate magic, whether it's good or bad. But I would imagine it was bad at that time. But there was three women there in particular, and they were sisters, and they introduced themselves. Well, I can only remember one of them's name, and it was Isabel. And they literally were doing this chanting ceremony. And as I was a child sitting there watching, because my dad was a truck driver, so he wasn't around. Otherwise, he would have put a stop to it. But as I was watching them and they were doing their songs and their chanting around the fire, I literally saw their faces change into a werewolf. Their bodies didn't change, but you know, after the end, about 2 hours later, after the end of this spell casting ceremony that my mother was doing with these individuals, there was probably 12 or 14 ladies there, and they were dressed in their traditional garb and stuff. But the youngest of the ones came over to me after the thing was over, and she introduced herself as Isabel. And she told me that, what you saw was real, and basically that we were werewolves and we were cursed because we were gypsies. So I don't know. Did you get that? Did I lose you?
Yeah, no, I gotcha. That is really interesting. Can you hear me, William? Can you hear me? I don't know if William can hear me or not. It's really interesting because the Georgia werewolf is named Isabella.
You're breaking up real bad.
Can you hear me?
They're shutting me down is what. Yeah, they're shutting me.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
can you hear me
I
right
can
now?
hear you, but you're getting real breaking.
Okay.
The volume is getting low and it's breaking.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the phone or if it's the signal, but
okay. Okay, well, I don't know if you can hear me, but the Georgia werewolf, there was a woman that was accused of being a werewolf near where I live, and her name was Isabella as well. She was
Are
a
you
real werewolf. Hmm.
are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. Her name was Emily Isabella Burt, and I think they called her Issy. Izzy.
Well,
Yeah,
that just blows my mind. That blows my
yeah.
mind. Then I know what I saw, and I might have been 10 years old, but I know what I saw. And the last report I heard of them were the three sisters were somewhere in the Midwest area, up into the higher regions of the Midwest, which would probably be like Montana, um, and South Dakota and North Dakota area. So, but yeah,
Mhm.
I know what I saw, and to me, I've always had a fascination with the werewolf thing, and maybe
Mhm.
that's why people think I'm a werewolf. I don't know, but from doing the walker ceremonies, I learned a lot about physical transformation, and a lot of religious people out there, not naming any names because I don't want to offend anybody because I love everybody to death. Um, a lot of religious people say that you can't do a physical change from a possession. Well, I got news for you. You can. The secret is that when you're doing a physical transformation, whether you're transforming into a werewolf or a vampire or whatnot, um, or even the Rougarou for that matter, I would imagine that it has to be of equal or larger size to the person that's doing the possession that's being possessed. You can't, like, I couldn't change into a small bird. Okay. I would have to change into a large eagle or something along that line, something bigger than a small bird like a robin or a blue jay. Um, so possession is half of what takes place in ceremony, and the other half is physical transformation, whether it's induced through a psychotropic drink or whether it's induced through smoke or verbal spells. The verb, because everybody knows I always say words have power and words have meaning. When you combine that with a very, very strong imagination to where you use all of your senses to make and manifest something, that's when the change will happen. And some of us over 60 plus years have taken that ability and been able to control it better than others when we do
Mhm.
ceremony. So, but I haven't done, like I said, now I do ceremony to protect people, and
Mhm.
you know. But as far as Dogman goes, I've had my run-ins with Dogman. I've never had I mean, yeah, I've been growled at, but I've never had them forcibly, violently come at me. Every incident I've had, they've always ran away. So I look at Dogman as more of a protecting type of an entity than evil, bloodthirsty like a werewolf is described. So to me, that's another difference between the two.
Yeah, well, it's such a hot topic, these dog men, especially if you log on to YouTube, and a lot of channels just put out dogman attacks, family unalived by dogman and stuff, and it's very sensational, and it historically has been. And I thought it was interesting that Kenny and I talked about a historical reference of 300 women who allegedly shapeshifted into werewolves back in 1591. And actually, they say that 95 or 85 of them were burned at the stake for being witches, werewolves or witches. And but there's some debate as to whether that story is even true. Because even
Well,
back then it was sensationalized.
you know that when it comes to legends and it comes to stories, they have to be based on some kind of fact. What
Right.
percentage it would be, is anybody's guess. But when we're dealing with Native American legends and stories, we're dealing with something that is based off of firsthand knowledge, and it's orally traditionally passed down from generation to generation. So, like the Nahanni Valley, take that
Mhm.
for instance, or like the LBL area, with being having all those graves and stuff in the ground. Everything's connected. Eventually, somebody will find a way to connect everything together. Um, but until then, we don't need to work separately to find these conclusions. We need to work together. We need the people that believe in the woo to work with the people that believe in the flesh and blood. We need to set our egos aside. We need to set our arrogance aside and be humble and work together. If you don't work together, then we're not doing it for the common good. So,
Well, if I've learned anything doing shows on YouTube, is that the cryptid community has a pretty big egos. It's a clash of egos with
and that's why,
a lot of the reports. So,
yeah, that's why I don't do a lot of podcasts. I do
mhm.
my own podcast, and I just, there's very few podcasts that I mean, I've had people approach me about wanting to make videos of my history and my story and all that, and put it in certain formats for YouTube and Facebook and and Spreaker and all the other ones. And I just I shy away from that because first and foremost is a lot of the stuff that I go through, and a lot of stuff that I deal with on a daily basis is something I don't want to put out there because a lot of the stuff that I go through on a daily basis, I don't want anybody else having to go through it. And sometimes when you watch things about people's past, sometimes you open up doors that you can't close. And people need to realize that, if you're not in a certain place spiritually and physically and mentally, um, you're not going to want to have those supernatural doors opened and taking advantage of you because they will destroy you. If you're not prepared, you will be destroyed. Plain and simple. And I hate to say it that way. I love everybody, but
It's
it's
true.
just over the years. Just over the years, I've learned so much about humanity and spirit and what we're meant to do in this world, in this life. No matter what our differences are, no matter whether we believe we're a werewolf, a vampire, a lizard person, it doesn't matter. Individuality is what makes this world work. And as long as we work together with individuality and share our results of what happens in this world with each other, we're going to find the answers we need, and that's one thing that humanity needs to do. They need to work together. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. That's the absolute truth, and that's why I try to bring people from every walk of life on my show, every community, every kind of background, um, cryptid encounters, whatever, spiritual community, paranormal community, UFOs, cryptids, Dogman, Bigfoot, even the little people. And Riley Ron Ivy for us has said several times over the course of us doing a bunch of shows that his great grandfather disappeared out of the Nahanni forest or the Nahanni Valley, and I think that may be what you were referring to earlier about the Dogmen. And
mhm.
and he's voiced before that he believes maybe the little people had taken him. And today he
Yeah,
said, well, maybe it was the werewolves or dogmen potentially.
Yeah, there's more in, if anybody's ever done research on the Nahanni Valley or even been there, there's more there than just Dogman and giant bears and Bigfoot. That whole area is said to have a certain spell cast about it, a certain mystique about it, and you know, some of the indigenous tribes up that way have beliefs that the entrance to hell is in the Nahanni Valley somewhere. So, as far as the water and the water babies and the little people go, any type of fae is connected to water because water is energy, water has memory, and water is a portal. So, why do 99% of people that go missing in the world go missing around water? It very well could be little people. It could be fae. Um, there's just that possibility. And I went in depth on that pretty much the other weekend on my podcast. I think I did like almost 3 lives talking about water and its abilities and stuff because everything we do interacts with water. When you have thunderstorms come through and paranormal activity heightens up when you're doing investigations, it rains. Well, that's water. You know, when you have blizzards that happen in Montana when somebody goes missing after they're reported missing to stop the search from finding the people.
Yeah.
Snow is water. You know, you have the
Mhm.
fog, the mysterious fog everybody's talking about. That people have been getting sick from and seeing things in and interacting with like a smart fog. Fog is water. It's mist. Okay. Everything that happens supernaturally and paranormal wise, and some cryptid wise too, deals with water as the main connector. What does it say in the old scriptures? As above, so below. We're supposed to have water above us, the heavens. We have water we know we can't get to the depths to in the oceans, that it would literally crush us, you know. So we have no idea how deep the oceans go, you know. So I mean, the oceans, they could be bottomless. That could be the bottomless pit that is mentioned in biblical scripture. You know, you don't know. It says that the Leviathan comes from the water. The beast will emerge from the waters. You know, um, there's so many connections to water and missing people that I'm a firm believer that it could be the Fae connected to the water. It could be. You guys are going to think I'm probably even more crazier now when I say this, but Madame Codewette is a male mermaid, okay, per se, and it's a very very vicious creature, and it lives in water. It can go from salt water to fresh water, okay, and it's said to have almost like a mystic ability. Maybe it's taking people too from the water's edge. You
Mhm.
hear about people abducted in Alaska on the edge of the ocean all the time. You know, so I
Yes.
mean, there's such a connection to water that it's unbelievable. Nobody's made that connection before. When we're baptized, what are we baptized in?
Water. Yeah,
Okay, when
water.
we're christened with a sacred name, what are we christened in?
Always water.
Yeah, water that the priest puts on you. You know, what
Mhm.
do we use in sweat lodge to put this Mother Earth's breath from the hot rocks into the sweat lodge? We use water, and it makes steam, and that steam is water. Everything is connected to water. I just can't believe nobody's made that connection previously.
Well, and our bodies are made up of mostly water as well. Us humans, these meat
See?
suits, they're full of water. And William, it's not too crazy that you're talking about mermaids, male mermaids. Uh, I've done shows on the Lake Pyramid or the Pyramid Lake Mermaid, and we have mermaids in some of the waterways in North Carolina, not too far from where you
Uh-huh.
live. You know, we there's a lot of lake mermaids. Our friend Long Island Bigfoot took a report of a lake mermaid in New York last year. He's in the chat today,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
like
not too
Long
far
Island
fetched.
Big. I want to get Long Island Bigfoot on my podcast sometime so we could talk. I think we'd have a heck of a conversation because some of the stuff that I know he experiences, I've gone through, and you know, I try to help out the younger guys and ladies that are in the paranormal and the cryptid world. Um, and I don't do it because I claim to be an expert because I'm not an expert. I'm one that just comes on and tells you about my own interactions with things. And as much interactions that I've done and with my background, I try to teach everybody, you know, a little bit, you know, more knowledge, you know, because it helps them out. So yeah, you know, there's a lot of people I want to get in touch with that before I leave this world, I wanna, you know, see how they, you know, how they feel and all that, and interact with them a little more. So, but I'm still recovering from surgery, so, and I'm still drinking coffee 24/7. So,
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I had 3 cups of coffee today, this morning,
I'm
and it was so good. I love coffee.
I'm I'm working on my 6th cup right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been a fantastic show. We actually made it, William. We made it through the whole show with
Good.
just minimal technical difficulties. I think we did a great job today. Yeah.
My phone's at percent.
Well, tell the audience before we go today. Tell everybody where they can find you. And first of all, I want to thank you for being here today. It is just wonderful. I hope that you'll come back and hang out with me
Welcome.
some more. I know we have a lot of stuff we could talk about.
Yeah. There's so much that's going on in this world, you know, and it's not just the cryptid. It's, you know, the lights in the sky. It's the entities that people are seeing in the sky and in the fog. And yeah, there's a lot we could talk about, Jessica. That's for sure. So
Yeah. Well, in the meanwhile, everybody can go to Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast. Tell the audience about your podcast and anything else you'd like to tell everybody today.
okay, well, hopefully if I get the internet back tonight, Ryan and I will be coming on with Midnight's Monsters tonight at midnight. On the Nighthawk High Strangeness YouTube channel. It's You'll know the channel because it has a circular disc with a fire wolf and a water wolf, you know, opposing each other like a yin yang type of a thing, which was designed by my good brother Gerald from Midnight Watchers. So thank
Yeah.
you for that.
What's up, Gerald?
He did a heck of a good design. Love that man to death. I do.
He's
Him and
awesome.
his wife. Yeah, I love them to death. And then, you know, that's going to be starting hopefully tonight if the internet holds out. Then I've got Friday night. I've got Into the Red Rabbit Hole, which is a conspiracy theory podcast. And then, like you said, Saturday and Sunday mornings, we try to come on at 11 a.m. Eastern time for the weekend paranormal brew show, which is basically like a coffee format show where we talk about.
I'm showing your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, that
I'm showing the audience they can find it.
Okay. They, you know, that's usually just a morning program where we sit around like a bunch of friends sitting at a coffee table, you know, drinking coffee and talking weird stuff. Everything from cryptids to spirit hunting to, you know, all kinds of stuff. So it's a good one. So, but yeah,
It's
that's all on YouTube, Facebook. So
perfect. Yeah, please go over to Nighthawk High Strangeness, if I can talk, podcast channel on YouTube. You guys go subscribe right now, and be sure to join William tonight with Ryan Tremblay. He's a friend of the show as well, and midnight would be Eastern Standard Time. That's over here on the East Coast. So it'd be 9 o'clock p.m. over on the West Coast. We got people from all over the world in the chat right now, by the way, all over the world.
Great.
Yeah.
I love everybody. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for being here, William. And you have a fan club in the chat today too, including myself, including myself. So thank you so much. And please come back and see me. I'm definitely going to be in your chats over on your channel. I try to always be as much as I can.
Thank you, Jessica, very much.
Of course.
Everybody,
of course.
See you later.
Okay. See you, William. Thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful day. I want to thank everybody for the support today. I know we had some super stickers and stuff. Hold on, let me go back and say thank you to everybody. We also had some questions that I didn't get to. I'm so sorry, you guys. I did start a whole bunch of questions. I what do you call them? Earmarked them. But I knew that William's phone might give out a battery today, so I didn't get a chance to get to all those. So I apologize, but I so appreciate each and every one of you guys. And Caleb J, thank you so much for that super sticker. Wendy Luhu, thank you so much for that super sticker. Dragonfly, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate it very much. And I want to thank everybody who is part of my hunt club. That is the channel membership. And yes, I do put out exclusive content just for the channel members. So if you guys want to become a member, hit the join button on my main page. And so thank you for that. Thanks for my Patreon members. I do have a fantastic remote viewing show coming up tomorrow night. I've been working on 2 targets for Barry, and I still don't know what it is yet. Okay, I don't know what they are, but we'll probably be covering those tomorrow. I can promise you they are wild. It's wild. Whatever it is good. And I don't know. It's a little unnerving when he doesn't tell me immediately what they are. Okay, so I think he's probably thinking about it, and we'll be presenting that to you guys tomorrow night. And I do have Trey from Squatch Me Now coming on Saturday night. So you guys come back and see me tomorrow night at 8 p.m. and it'll be a great show. And then come back on Saturday as well. And please do go subscribe over to Nighthawk High Strangeness. You guys, William has so much knowledge and so much wisdom, and he brings a wonderful angle to the cryptid, something that, most people wouldn't talk about, people in his position. Okay, so it was much appreciated. I love you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much again for being here, and I will see you guys tomorrow. You guys, please stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel and watch your back, and don't live in fear. All right. Stay safe, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.